After a weekend with the family, I am mentally drained and nowhere near equipped to be interacting with people. So, because of that, let's get on with our next video. The Watchmen of the Metro Wastes are going to be wily creatures adapted to hunting in packs and observing prey until the time to strike presents itself. It may appear on the surface that these creatures run things, but you may be surprised to learn that they are struggling to survive just like everyone else after the bombs fell. So, with my intro concluded, I hope everybody finds this video worth a watch, man. Anyways, the Watcher is a creature that is going to be a highly adaptive social predator. Its entire hierarchy and survival is owed to those who it tends to run with. Your typical Watcher is going to exist in groups of 5 to 10 as it stalks other creatures of the waste, but some larger packs have been known to reach up to 50 members strong. In packs like these, it creates a momentum effect with the amount of safety provided by the numbers, which would allow the pack to grow even more rapidly. This would require a very strong alpha, however, to maintain such a pack size without splintering. A Watchman will utilize these packs to defend its home and also maintain its territory. So first thing we will cover is, where exactly is a Watchman going to exist on the surface? Well, it appears that the Watchmen are going to exist in the structures of Moskva rather than the underground areas like some of the other creatures. They will live in the bombed out buildings or congregate in areas such as the Kremlin. They are not just mindlessly aggressive in their defense of these areas as you get close. They will let you know to back off, which also suggests a certain amount of intelligence, but we will cover that intellect later in the video. Anyhow, these structures are going to provide shelter from the elements, but more importantly, they provide safe haven from their number one predator, the demons. Demons have been known to swoop down and carry off Watchmen to be devoured, so they adapted to live indoors and away from open and exposed areas. This does not mean that they will not exit their home to hunt for food. Speaking of food, what does this creature eat? Watchman is going to be an omnivore, presumably. Its standing concerning the food web is going to be lower to middle tier. There are plenty of creatures that seem to want to make a meal out of the Watchmen. However, due to their size, this also suggests there are plenty of meals the Watchmen can seek out. A creature would not be able to maintain a size as large as them unless they were getting enough nutrition. Much like how the Nasalis stay large by presumably eating humans and giant bugs, the Watchmen so too must have a steady intake of food. However, with very humans on the surface, this would mean that there are other animals they are eating. Again, this points to them being omnivores. In most cases, it appears it will be more meat-centered as they would eat Nasalis and lurkers, but in some cases they will go after larger prey if humans kind of stay out of the way. But let's be real, bro, that's my bear. If anyone's gonna shoot it, it's gonna be me. Anyhow, it can be theorized that although they do prefer meat, any edible vegetation in the area would be favored for them to consume. So I told you we would come back to intelligence. The Watchmen overall are going to be rather smart, albeit viciously savage. Their pack mentality and ability to work together to formulate plans suggests a developed cerebrum and larger brain size, as they are able to understand the importance of remaining social as it is connected to their survival. The planning, as mentioned previously, suggests problem-solving skills not seen in most creatures who just tend to attack, which is most creatures on the surface. Their intelligence is also shown when Artyom gets close to their home. They warn him to leave rather than just outright attacking him. If you back away and leave them alone, they will leave you alone. Another example is when you come across a scared Watchman during the storm. Even though you are very close to it, the Watchman has no interest in attack simply because you are there. Instead, preferring to kind of live and let live just to survive the storm that's happening around it. What I find most interesting about the social aspect of these creatures is that there is a great possibility that they could be domesticated, unlike most of the species on the surface. Much like how ancient man domesticated wolves by feeding scraps to them and then breeding the most docile of the bunch, the same could be done with the Watchmen. Humans are social pack hunters as well, which is why currently dogs and humans work very well together, because even though there is a species barrier between us, our pack mentality kind of unites our minds under a common language. So make sure to tell your quadruped if you are near them that they are a good pack mate. Anyhow, since we are discussing the social aspect of the Watchmen, let's delve into their potential origins. A lot of people seem to think that they have been descended from the rats, but that is fairly unlikely. Their face does appear rat-like, I will give you that, but if you observe the structure of the face, it looks an awful lot lot like a boxer dog, doesn't it? Well, a boxer with significant mutations anyhow. I believe personally that the Watchmen are descended from the wild dogs or possibly even wolves. Because pack hunting is going to be pretty innate in canines anyways, that just seems to me their ability to socially interact with one another that they are definitely canine. Also, canines are not going to be the top of the food chain without their two-legged best friend in the mix, and are naturally going to be more middle tier concerning who eats who. Wolves themselves have been known to get into territorial disputes with bears, but they usually get annihilated if the pack is not strong enough. Wolves have also been known to set traps when hunting and observe prey for a while before making any moves. In fact, if you've ever actually seen a border collie herd, they are essentially doing the same thing. Anyhow, the ability to observe and pick a particular weak or old member from the group of prey carries over into the Watchmen, who will do as their name implies, observe and pick certain members of the group to run down and eat, much like how they will watch Artyom and pick him out to be hunted. Upon beginning the hunt or having the hunt stumble upon them, they will rear up on their back legs and let out a howl. This howl will alert other pack members in the area that dinner has arrived and they will begin their attack. Rats have been known to do nothing of the aforementioned. All these traits and tendencies clearly can be traced back to a canine ancestry. The only similarity to rats is that they move in packs as well and that they are omnivores, but to me those are weak ties connecting the Watchmen to the rodent family as opposed to the canine family. So now with the behavior of the creatures out of the way, let's go over the morphological changes induced by the radiation on the surface to these canines. First, holy cow, they look like mangy mutts. Their fur is going to really exist on certain areas of the bodies, particularly on the back covering the spine, the tops of the arms, under the belly, and the chest area, as well as the bottom of the jaw. This placement of growth of hair really seems to be intentional and not just left over from radiation or mutation. This will provide protection from the elements concerning vulnerable parts of their body like the spine, organs, and arms, the arms which would quickly succumb to frostbite without the hair there. It may also provide a barrier from bites and scratches during combat with other Watchmen, perhaps during territorial disputes and hierarchy upsets. The body, okay, I will give you this. It does appear to be very rodent-like, but the tail is nothing to go off of. Dog tails look like rodents without hair. Just if you've ever seen a dog without any hair on its body, they do look kind of rat-like. But no hair is going to exist on these tails. Moving further up to the back legs, they are going to be digitigrade and they are going to have a sort of humpback. The legs are going to be rather powerful, allowing them to leap and run at great speeds. So far, the back end looks pretty standard canine, but when we get to the front, things kind of take a different turn. The arms themselves have a clearly defined elbow. Dogs do have an elbow, but if you look at them, they have a very short humerus bone and a longer radial and ulna bone. This is because the arms are going to be used as legs. The Watchmen have a humerus bone almost the same length as the forearm bones, which means that this arm can be used for grasping and climbing and is much more dextral. Then we come to the fingers. The fingers are very long and possess knuckles. It's clear that the paw has been lengthened and stretched out to give the canine an ability to grab onto things, which does make it appear very rat-like. So they're going to be able to hold on to their prey rather than just purely running, so these have a dual purpose concerning their arms. And their hands are going to be a lot like ours in some aspects concerning fine motor control over individual fingers. Moving back up, we see very muscular shoulders, as while the arms are used for grasping, they are still going to be used for running. The neck of the creature is relatively long, but coming to the face and head, it's rather an interesting shape. The eyes sit sort of like back on the head and are quite beady. The jaw itself, again, is very strange. These jaws typically do not exist in nature concerning mammals. On some fish, I imagine they can exist, like the ones down deep into the ocean, but this one does appear to have a boxer's face. The teeth are going to be razor sharp and jut out of the jaws. But what's really strange is the flaps on either side of the mouth. They will open up presumably for two reasons. First, to allow a greater area of bite to make up for the clear underbite the Watchman has, and it's also going to amplify the howls. The howls of the Watchman are going to be a very low pitch. With a low pitch howl, this is going to mean it has a lower frequency, which tends to travel much further than higher frequency noise waves. Sort of like how whales can communicate for miles through the ocean due to the low frequency vibrations. The Watchmen have have done something similar, but overall the flaps on the sides of the face will allow it to bellow further than its normal size mouth would allow otherwise. Overall, this creature is going to be much larger than your standard canine, obviously much larger than a rat. When it rears up on its back legs, it's much taller than your average man, so I would put it at about 6 to 7 feet tall and roughly 200 to 300 pounds. A Watchman's hide is also not going to be thick, however. It is able to survive a few shots, but given a point-blank hit from a shotgun or a few shots from a rifle, the creature can be killed. This is unsurprising as they aren't really much larger than a very big dog, meaning that there isn't a lot of meat to stop bullets from piercing something vital. So, do you think that the Watchmen are dogs or rats? Personally, I think with the info here, I hope that I swayed you into thinking that they're dogs, but let me know down in the comments what you think about it. I'm currently streaming Outlast on my channel as of September 23rd, so if that's something you're into, I typically stream on weekdays, so keep an eye out for that if that's your thing. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like as it helps the video get out there, and considering I am still salty at YouTube's technical issue taking 2,300 subs away from me, I'm gonna go probably complain about that on live stream. If you like the video enough and would like to sub, that would be a great way to keep up with the new videos coming out. I will drop my Discord, Twitter, and Patreon links in the description, but of course, I would like to thank my patrons for their support. At the scientist tier, we have Layla Lizarin, and then we got your boy Master BC holding it down. Then we got the newcomer A. Laurantis. Thanks, guys. Next up, we have our residents who are going to be G. Anderson, Richard Muhlenberg, Alex Parks, and Thirst German Fox. Our geneticists are going to be Andrew Lawson, Divine Whisper, and John Russo. Holding their masters in biology, we have Adam Hartswick, Brian H. Briggs, Cameron Smith, Javier D. Rodriguez, Laffy No Skill, Scott Grant, and the Otterman. And last but not least, we have our bachelors in morphological sciences, which are going to be a Big Fat Snake, a Higao Comics, Average Soul, Dustin Ellis, Eric Scott Gillies, Immature Cape, Jacob N. Pisoni, Joseph Radical, and Natsuki Chiaki. Thank you guys for your continued support, it really helps. As stated, if you want to become a patron, there will be a link in the description, so everyone else watching, I hope you enjoyed my video over the Watchmen. Concerning Metro, the Rhino is coming up next, but I believe next in rotation is like Dead Space, if I remember correctly. Anyhow, I will see y'all in the next one.